And we are backstage right now. We will be starting our River West Radio episode here in about 10 seconds. Welcome to AbilityMKE Now. My name is Sue Roskoff, and we're here with River West Radio and loving the opportunity that we have here to speak on ability. So AbilityMKE Now is a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at AbilityMKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own or with people we know. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. So for those who are familiar with my family specifically here, we are water skiers. We got into this whole idea of going down this road talking about abilities and disabilities because of our history with water skiing. So what does that mean? We actually are on a show ski team. So being in Wisconsin here, we actually are super lucky to have so many amazing people in the sport of water skiing here. Show skiing actually is huge in the state of Wisconsin. And if you haven't actually encountered it, I'm sure many of you have at least heard of the Tommy Bartlett's water ski show in Wisconsin Dells. That is one that has been ongoing for decades. They actually did close down a couple seasons back, but it was really through all that they did to spur the whole sport that made it. I believe that it is all through them that really made show skiing and putting on ski shows all across the state as popular as it is. There are currently actually I should have double checked my numbers. There's somewhere between like 35, 36, 37 ski teams in Wisconsin alone. There are a lot of teams across the nation, actually across the world, but here in Wisconsin, we are literally considered the show ski capital of the world because we have so many teams and so much talent focused right here in our own state. So super amazing athletes that we've gotten to see and have had the chance to get to know. And it was actually with all of these interactions with all of these amazing skiers that has made the sport of adaptive water skiing so much more prevalent now and accessible here in our own state. So here in Southeast Wisconsin, there are a good number of teams as well. So personally, my family is in Pewaukee. We are part of the Pewaukee Lake Water Ski Club, which is just west of Milwaukee by, I don't know, about 20 minutes or so. In Southeast Wisconsin here, there are several teams, and some of them have some pretty amazing adaptive skiing programs available. And why is this top of mind? Well, if you didn't notice, it's finally starting to get warm out. It's awesome to have it be that. Well, I'm totally biased. This time of year is my favorite because we're going from out of the winter into spring here, and it's starting to finally get nice and warm again. And with our love for water skiing, that is something that makes me very happy. So if you can imagine, those of us who've been waiting and waiting for it to get warm enough to actually put those skis back on our feet and hit the water again, that is absolutely why we love. So with how much we love the sport ourselves, we love sharing the sport with others. We love that opportunity to teach people how to ski, to whether it's, again, stand-up skiing, sit-down skiing, whatever it means to each individual skier. It is a fun sport. So if you haven't had a chance to try it, I would love to see more and more people taking a look at it. There's videos available online. There's opportunities to go in person to see different teams doing their thing. It is a lot of fun. So uh, I think this is now my 28th season skiing with the Pewaukee team. Kurt will, I'm sure, be on here shortly as well to join and give his a little bit of his history. His is a bit longer than mine. He's been on the team now for 37 years. The team is actually 39 years old this year, so he's been in the club since almost its inception. He was not there the first year, and there was one year in the middle that he took off, but that's it. He's been around it for all these years, and adaptive skiing with our club has dated back somewhere around 30-ish years. I don't actually have the exact year. We thought we knew what the exact year was, and then not that long ago, we came across some pictures that showed us that it went back further than we even realized. So there's been this amazing partnership and cooperation between our ski club and a group out of Waukesha that's called ACAP, which stands for Adaptive Community Approach Program. And for all these years, there's been one Saturday in the summer that's been set aside for doing adaptive skiing in partnership with their organization. I know this year, actually, it appears that we're going to be opening it up a little bit differently because, with COVID happening, a lot of activities changed a bit, and we were not actually able to do our normal ski thing through all that. So that actually had changed a bit too, as far as with how we're going to be structuring our event this summer. But it is going to be happening in August. The date is still being determined, but what will be available there is what we do. We do the adaptive skiing on something called a sit ski. Now, I say that with the assumption of somebody who's interested in doing something other than stand-up skiing. That's not necessarily the case. I'm sure we'll have many skiers there who would prefer stand-up skiing, and that will definitely be an option as well. So with what we do with our club, we make all of that available. You may be wondering, if you've never heard of this before, that whole idea of what is a sit ski? What does that look like? How do we do this? So it is, if you can imagine, I think most people can kind of picture what a water ski looks like. So imagine that being like twice as wide, 2 to 3 times as wide. So it's probably, never actually measured it. I want to say it's somewhere around 12-ish inches wide, maybe a little more, and a little bit tapered at the toe and tapered at the tail. But it is about the same length as a water ski, which is about maybe 5 feet tall, somewhere in there. Then instead of having a boot on there that your foot goes in, like on the stand-up skis that I normally use, this actually has a metal frame is probably the best way to describe it. A metal frame with like a canvas piece in there that is attached, kind of like a hammock would be, where you can actually sit in it, and the frame is there to be the support for being able to sit in this canvas type of arrangement there. So that piece itself, the whole seated part, is referred to as a cage. How it got that name, I don't know. It actually, I think, is a little odd, but it's called the cage. And then you've got the ski, and then the cage itself is attached to the ski, typically by a couple of bolts, or actually probably 4 bolts, and they're normally adjustable. So based on the skier's height, it can be set to the correct position for front to back on that ski so that things are weighted properly. So if you can imagine sitting down in this metal frame, that you're actually sitting on that canvas part that is suspended within that frame, and then where your feet are, you definitely need to have your feet stay on the ski itself. So as a safety feature, there is a Velcro, actually kind of a wide Velcro strap. So, but it's calling it a strap's a little bit misleading because it's fabric, and it's probably 5 inches wide, I believe, 5 to 6 inches wide, and all Velcro. So you put your feet together on top of that ski, and then you put the two flaps of that Velcro part together to hold your feet kind of snug in front of you on the ski. So there's zero chance then of your feet slipping off one side or the other from that ski. They literally are stationary on top of that ski. So as a participant, then you're going to sit down in that cage, and then have your feet strapped in to their spot on top of the ski. And then when we go out skiing, we always go with side skiers. So we'll have two people, one on each side, stand up skiing next to the individual who's in the sit ski. And there's a couple reasons for that. There's the obvious one is a safety feature. Having those two very experienced, capable skiers next to the participant makes it actually a lot of fun, because you can talk, you're close enough, you can be talking while you're out there, you can check in and see how's it going, or if they want to go around a second time after we're up and going around the lake. Do you want to make another lap? Would you want to go in? How you doing? So you're able to actually have a conversation out there to some extent. And it really is a huge amount of fun being in that position behind the boat with the adaptive skiers. And actually, kind of a diversion, but it always brings me to my favorite part of the whole thing is when a skier gets to experience this for the very first time ever. It is so much fun to see the joy and the exhilaration of, really, I can think back to when I first started doing show skiing things and the adrenaline rush that was and still is, but there's nothing like that first time you're out there and having that experience, and the wind in your face, the water splashing you, all the things. And that is such a fun experience to be able to be with a person who's doing this for the first time is honestly my favorite moments. But those that have come back again and again and getting the chance to do this multiple different times, and how excited they are to come back and to have that experience again because they did enjoy it so much that first time. It's as somebody who is lucky enough to participate with them in that process, it is so much fun. Is one of my favorite things of our summer is to be part of the group going out and doing this. So I kind of jumped ahead. I was describing a bit about what is this adaptive skiing thing actually like. So far I'm hoping we have that mental picture of, you have the ski, you've got the cage on the ski that a participant sits in. Their feet are Velcroed onto the top of the ski. And then we have two side skiers, one on each side of the participant, that are going to be doing stand-up skiing. So there's three different people, right? So we'll have three different ropes coming from the boat. Each side skier holds their handle in their hand. The participant, now technically they do have the option of holding the handle in their hand if they want, but honestly, not recommended, not for getting started. There's too much going on there. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So first of all, the ski rope that goes to the sit ski actually somewhat attaches to the ski itself. It's not, we have a golf ball actually as part of the rope. So that golf ball, it's like there was a hole drilled through the golf ball, and that rope has the golf ball literally on the rope. That is the piece that goes into a slotted spot on the front of the sit ski, and that golf ball is where it goes into the block of the front, on that front end of the ski, and that is actually what is pulling the sit ski from the boat. So rope attached to the boat goes back to the sit ski. There's that golf ball that basically holds onto the sit ski, and that is where it's pulled from, is from that. So now we are out on the water. We're getting ready to go. We're all floating. I'm trying to create that mental picture so you can actually see what is happening out there in your mind. As we start water skiing, we always start just floating, basically kind of floating on your butt, sort of kind of like you're sitting in a chair. And as a side skier, that's literally the position you're in. You got your skis in front of you, you got your rope in your hand, and we actually hang on to our rope with one hand, and our other hand, we hang on to the edge of that cage, of the edge of that frame that the participant is sitting in. So we literally start as a unit. All three of us are solid together. We are a single unit taking off together. So somebody behind the boat yells to the boat then to say, tighten up. So tighten up those ropes so that we're ready to go. We yell, tighten up. Then as we're starting to troll forward a little bit so that those ropes stay tight. And from behind the boat, we'll yell, 1, 2, 3, hit it. And as we say, hit it, that's when the boat takes off and we all pop up out of the water onto our skis and we are skiing. That moment of saying 1, 2, 3, that's where we're all still in the water and just making sure we're double checking, are the ropes in the right spot? Is everybody ready to go? We all the safety checks take place in those moments leading up to it. And then by yelling those commands out so that we're communicating to the boat, that's how we are all 100% on the same page. So there's no surprises. We all know when we're taking off and how that goes. And now a lot of people want to actually yell, go, 1, 2, 3, go. We never use that phrase. Why? What does that sound like? It sounds like you're yelling no. It sounds too much like the negative word of no. So to be safe, we always say 1, 2, 3, hit it. That way there's no chance of there being a miscommunication with the boat. So I haven't even talked about a very important piece of this puzzle. I mentioned that rope that goes to the sit ski is actually somewhat attached to it. So what do we do if we need to stop? Well, that's where the person who is the spotter in the boat. So you got two people in the boat. One person is a driver, one person is a spotter. So that spotter is literally, their job is to spot us, to look at us, to make sure everything behind the boat where we're skiing, make sure everything is fine with us. If anybody, for whatever reason, ends up falling, or if there's any reason we don't have all three of us together back there, they actually are responsible for releasing the boat, or releasing the ropes from the boat. There's this thing called a pin release. So our ropes go to this pin release, and that's where they're pulled from. The spotter has a mechanism in their hand that's actually basically a rope in their hand that goes to that pin. When it's time for us to land, or for any safety reasons, which it's pretty rare, but that's part of what they're there for, is for whatever reason, when it's time to have us basically let go, we don't let go of our ropes as skiers. We actually end up having the ropes released from the boat. So the boat will drive away, but we get to slowly sink into the water safely as they have released those ropes from the boat. Now, when we are ready to land, we actually tell the boat when it's time to do that. So just like when we started and we yelled 1, 2, 3, hit it. Now, when it's time to stop, we're going to do the same thing again, where we have our rope in one handle in one hand. We are holding onto the cage with the other hand. And when it's time to land, we're going to yell again, 1, 2, 3. And then instead of yelling anything else, it's literally on that fourth beat, we nod our head like a dramatic nod so that the spotter can see our chin drop. And that is basically on beat 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then this big nod of our head so that they for sure know that that is the exact moment to pull the pin and release us from the boat. And then we all stay together as a unit as skiers. We still have the three of us together. We're still holding on as we're landing so that we can all just gently sink into the water, and then we can get our equipment all resituated, get our participant back to shore, and do all the things that we need to do there. while we're out on the water, we don't need to keep hanging on to the cage. While we're actually out there skiing, as side skiers, as long as the water's not too rough, we literally we stand up and we enjoy the ski ride just alongside our participant. We're able to come in and talk to them anytime. If we end up hitting some waves out there, other boats can cause waves and drive by as they drive by, right? Those are called rollers. If we're hitting rollers, sometimes it's nice to be able to have us come in and grab onto the side of the cage just to make it feel a little more comfortable, because going over bumps, it can be a little nerve-wracking if it's something that you've never done before. So we often will do that just to keep things as steady and stable as possible. And our big thing is it's meant to be a fun experience, and we do everything we can to make sure it remains that way. And it's exciting, but not scary, but exciting in a fun way. And for most of our participants, it is such a new experience. There's story after story of how this is their favorite day of the year, or that there's just something about this type of activity when it's such a different activity for most of our participants that never thought about doing something like this. And here they're out there going way outside their comfort zone and doing something as fun and daring as water skiing. So I'm obviously super pumped about this. I'm hoping that I can that at least gives a little more picture of what it's like for us as we're doing this. And participants that we've had, we've had all ages out there. We've had every type of ability / disability that you can imagine out there with us. There's nothing massive as a restriction, as long as it is safe for that participant to participate. I've seen, there was actually a gentleman down in Florida that was on a video that we had watched actually when there was some extra training going on, when we were first learning more about how the best, or what the best practices are for doing adaptive skiing. And it was so interesting to see this wonderful gentleman who has no arms and no legs. He has to completely 100% trust the people around him and what they're doing to keep him safe, because he probably is able to float, but he has no appendages to be able to actually swim anywhere. So it's just, I always try to keep in the back of my mind when I'm out there as a side skier, what is going on for the participant is the most important piece. I still remember, oh gosh, that was I believe it was the summer of 2014, when we had the pleasure of a group out of Florida come up and do some training with us in Madison. We gathered, actually, this is where Kurt gets all the kudos with what he did to make that all happen. All the logistics of this, bringing a whole bunch of people up. They brought their boat, they brought their equipment, all these, the adaptive skiing equipment, personnel, all these things, where they could teach those of us in Wisconsin here how to go about doing these adaptive water skiing clinics in the best way possible. And we had 70 to 80 people from across the state that gathered on 2 different days, 2 days in a row in Madison, and we learned so much. And part of that experience included our own chance to be in the sit ski. They were adamant about, it is so important for us to understand what that experience is like for the participant. And I cannot say enough for that, because I still remember that. Well, here I am, here I'm a show skier. I know how to ski. I'm all about, I know what I'm doing. When you have that chance to sit as the person in the sit ski and realize I am not in control right now, not at all. I can't just let go of my rope. This is a whole different experience right now. I am trusting the people beside me. I am trusting the people in the boat. And I am sitting here doing my role as the person getting that chance in that sit ski. And I have that moment frozen in my mind of what it was like to have that brief as it was, but as we were starting out of the water, when they said hit it, I remember clearly that moment of exhilaration and wait a second, I'm used to skiing. I understand what this feeling is like to ski, but this was different because I was not in control. I had to completely put my trust in the people around me. I am so grateful for having that experience so that I can keep that in mind with every person that I ski with, to be able to respect that moment for them as well, that, you know what, they are putting all their trust in me as a side skier right now. They are in the same spot that I was all those years ago. And I always hope that I can make sure that anyone who does side skiing with us has a chance to have that same opportunity. And maybe their experience is different. You know, we all have experienced everything we do a little differently, right? And that was where I was at that moment that day. It was amazing. It was exciting. It was fun. And another level that this can go to, now the unit that we use, the sit ski that we use has most of the time we have outriggers on it. Okay, what the heck is an outrigger? It's basically an added support piece where there is an additional ski, an additional water ski on each side of the participant that is attached to that ski as well by a couple of metal brackets, basically. So it's basically like having training wheels on it, so to speak. If you can picture a bike with training wheels, those training wheels are on the side so that the bike is not going to tip one way or the other too much. That's basically what this does. Now, there's a couple different camps out there of thought on that. We actually enjoy using those because of that added safety aspect and comfortability and all that. And actually it does make it so that it is less work for our side skiers, and we as side skiers we can actually ski more runs this way as well, because we can ski without the outriggers as well. What that means though is that it does become how should I say this? So if you can imagine, I think it's easier to picture somebody skiing with upright skiing with two skis on. So when you are first learning to ski with just one ski, there's a whole different balance piece that goes with that, right? So you're not standing on both feet anymore. Now you're standing on one. Same type of a concept with this. I've heard it described as, instead of doing a ski run, it's more like doing a sledding run, which is fair. It's a fair assessment to call it that. But it's a whole other level you can take this to. And even beyond that, there is competitive skiing that takes place where there's obviously at that point, the participant is able to hold the rope in their hands. They're actually an aggressive skier where they can go to the right. They can ski to the left. They don't need the help. They are completely independent out there. They go over a jump. I know people who take that over a jump, and there are a lot of things that can be done in this whole ski realm, and it is such an exciting, fun thing to do. So that's why I just wanted to take an episode here where I could really describe what it is that we get so excited about and what it is that we love sharing with others. Our ski season is just around the corner, and we're ramping up for it personally, and looking forward to the opportunity to be out with individuals all summer long. There, I guess, as far as when and where, we'll have to make sure we have that posted and available with our show description. But again, my name is Sue Roskoff, and for us here at AbilityMKE Now, we are just so happy to be able to share with everybody all the fun things that are available in the area. Thank you.